Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a profoundly moving and, honestly, pretty intense story from an ancient text, the Mahabharata. Specifically, we're going to dive deep into a dynamic narrative from the Poloma Parva section. It's a story that tackles massive themes like love, sacrifice, and the often inescapable cycle of violence. We're looking at a tale that starts with a broken heart and ends with a fascinating moral confrontation, perfectly illustrating how our deepest traumas can sometimes shape our darkest actions.
So, let's jump straight into the emotional core of this ancient text. It really forces us to confront a deeply universal question. How far would you actually go to bring back the person you love? We're about to look at a man who is pushed to the absolute edge of grief. His entire world has just shattered, and the text challenges us to ask ourselves what we'd be willing to trade to undo a tragedy like that. Keep that question in the back of your mind as we trace his journey.
Let's start with Section 1, a heartbreaking loss.
We find ourselves right in the thick of the tragedy, deep in a secluded wood. A man named Ruru is weeping over the lifeless body of his bride-to-be, Pramadvara. He is completely overwhelmed, crying out about his delicate bride lying there on the bare ground. But he doesn't just cry. He actually starts pleading with the universe. He starts bargaining. He basically says, if my past good deeds mean anything at all, if my charity, my penance, my respect for my superiors, and my lifelong control over my passions carry any cosmic weight whatsoever, let that merit restore my beloved to life. It's just a desperate, truly heartbreaking plea to the heavens.
That brings us to Section 2, the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, his deep sorrow doesn't go entirely unheard. It actually draws the attention of a celestial messenger who shows up and tells him that while Pramadvara's days have officially run out, the gods have provided a highly unusual loophole. But here's the catch, and it's a massive cosmic balance issue. To bring her back, Ruru must resign exactly a moiety, which means half of his own remaining lifespan. Because in this universe, life can't just be created from thin air, it has to be transferred. If Ruru wants her back, he literally has to give up half of his remaining future. It's an incredible proposition when you think about it.
And what does Ruru do? Without a single moment of hesitation, he agrees to this massive sacrifice. His response is immediate and absolute. I most willingly offer a moiety of my own life in favor of my bride. There's no bargaining down the price, no second thoughts, nothing. He just asks the celestial messenger to make it happen right then and there. It really shows the sheer unyielding power of his devotion to her.
Moving on to Section 3, a miraculous revival.
Now, you can't just hack the cosmic system. A deal of this magnitude requires approval from the highest possible authorities. The celestial messenger teams up with the king of Gandharvas, who happens to be Pramadvara's father, to take this unprecedented request directly to the god Dharma. He's also known as Dharmaraja, and he is the ultimate judge of the dead, overseeing the delicate balance of life, death, and cosmic law.
So, notice this very strict chain of cosmic command. First, the messenger and the king officially request the revival, asking that Pramadvara rise up using a moiety of Ruru's life. Second, Dharmaraja hears the case and gives the green light. And third, literally the moment the words are spoken, Pramadvara awakens as if from a deep slumber, now induced with half of Ruru's life. And the text makes a very specific point to note that this bestowal led to a permanent curtailment of Ruru's own lifespan.
Following this miracle, it really looks like the couple gets their happy ending. On an auspicious day, their fathers gladly marry them with all the due rites. The text tells us that Pramadvara is beautiful and bright as the filaments of the lotus, and the couple passes their days completely devoted to each other. Ruru has his bride back, but, well, as you're about to see, this is definitely not the end of our story.
Which leads us to Section 4, the vow of vengeance.
Because despite getting his happy ending, Ruru's past trauma completely transforms his character. That psychological scar of finding his wife dead in the forest just lingers. And as a direct ripple effect of that pain, he makes a dark, incredibly violent vow. The total destruction of the entire serpent race. Because a snake bite was what originally took Pramadvara from him, he holds the entire species responsible. His love drove him to the ultimate sacrifice, sure, but his unresolved pain drives him to a vow of absolute eradication. He becomes completely consumed by this misdirected anger. He's filled with great wrath, attacking any serpent on sight, and he always kills them with a weapon. Remember earlier when Ruru pleaded with the gods, citing his lifelong control over his passions as proof of his virtue? Yeah, actually, scratch that. That man is gone. He's become a vigilante, defined entirely by a violent grudge, just striking down snakes relentlessly wherever he goes.
And that brings us to Section 5, confronting the Dundubha.
So this brings us to a really fateful day. Deep in an extensive forest, fully armed and ready to execute his vow, Ruru spots an old snake stretched out on the ground. But this happens to be a Dundubha. Now, a Dundubha is a specific, old, and completely harmless species of snake. It poses absolutely zero threat to anyone. It's literally just resting there in the dirt, minding its own business.
But Ruru? He doesn't care. Blinded by his prejudice and this all-consuming vow, Ruru doesn't even stop to assess the situation. He immediately lifts his staff, which the text very dramatically compares to the literal staff of death, in pure anger, fully intending to kill this sleeping, harmless creature without a single second thought. His trauma has completely overridden his capacity for justice, or even basic reason.
And right before the blow lands, the Dundubha speaks. We're going to wrap up our explainer on this piercing question from the snake. It asks, "I have done thee no harm. Then wherefore wilt thou slay me in anger?" It's a stunning, brilliant moment. The snake is forcing Ruru, and by extension every single one of us, to look in the mirror. It challenges us to consider the tragic ripple effects of grief, the devastating cycle of violence, and the ultimate terrible cost of blind vengeance. Why do we so often punish the innocent for the pain caused by others in our past? It's a profound thought to carry with you. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking those tough questions.